Welcome to another episode of the MMA Lock-Cast. I'm your host, Manpreet, aka MMA Lock of the Night, and your boy on Twitter at MMA LOTN. This week we're going to be going over UFC Busan. I think that's the name, how you pronounce it, but it's also UFC Korea, headlined by Frankie Edgar and Jung. This is a fight that we were actually supposed to get way back last year at the 25th anniversary card, which ended up being the Korean Zombie against Yair Rodriguez, which presented a crazy finish. Last second Hail Mary by Yair Rodriguez to save his ass in that fight, and he gets the victory there. But here we are. Frankie Edgar takes a fight on short notice. He was initially supposed to fight Corey Sandhagen next month. In a bantamweight fight, which would have been his bantamweight debut. Now here he is, stepping in on short notice, taking on a fighter that he's already pretty much had a training camp for back in the day. So hopefully he's able to, rediscover those things with Marc Henry, get back in there and try to get this victory as an underdog to the Korean Zombie. Back at my place, what I think I'm going to be doing moving forward is actually be doing the fight night Lock-Cast shows from the studio here at my place, and then for the actual big pay-per-view cards, I'll be going over to Big Rob's place. With so many events, Big Rob's place is actually not that close to mine, considering I'd be going there every day or every Monday after work. It's a little bit of a pain, but I think that I love the setup there. I love how easy it is to do everything, and it just looks fucking cool too. But I'll save those for actual pay-per-view events, especially because I'll be Skyping guys in too, so it's great to have that type of setup. I'm going to be making some upgrades here as well. Come the new year, you guys will see some cool stuff that I got up my sleeve, so I can't wait to get that going. And then lastly, I just wanted to give you guys a quick heads up regarding the Lock of the Night challenge. So that's going pretty well. We got the last event for the challenge coming up this weekend, and we got a lot of movers and shakers. And that's the good thing about the Lock of the Night challenge. Even if you're, down in the dumps, if you go out there and hit a crazy Hail Mary parlay, you can find yourself in the money. So I'm just throwing it out there for people that may be interested. Lock of the Night challenge. I'm doing an early bird sign up for the 2020 season. If you sign up before December 21st, I'm going to put a deadline of 6 p.m. Eastern time, December 21st is Saturday. Sign up by then, and you guys could win either a Lock of the Night mug or a Lock of the Night shirt. I'm going to be giving away 3 prizes to 3 different people. I already have about 4 or 5 people signed up currently for the early bird, so you still have an opportunity. You still have a good chance of winning it as well. All you got to do is sign up by December 21st. And that's it. Simple rules to the game. Every event, every UFC event, you get to make one 5-unit bet. That could be a parlay. It could be a straight play. It could be anything you want it to be, as long as it's, if it's a parlay, it's not more than one leg in the same fight. But yeah, you can make any play you want. Go to best fight odds, fucking click parlay and parlay whatever the hell you want on one fight, and you're more than welcome to submit that as a bet. Make one bet, 5 units every event, and whoever comes out with the most profit, or the top 3 at least, will be getting paid out based on what the prize pool is and how much money we're able to get together through, channeling everybody together. So it's been great for this first run through that I've had. 23 people for the $25 game, and then I had 8 people for the $100 game. With the amount of interest that I had, even after I started this first season, I'm expecting those numbers to grow for this next season. So we'll have a bigger pod as well. I'm excited. I love running these things. It's a little bit tedious in terms of, entering the bets into the website and doing up the results all manually. I'm still in the preliminary stages of it, but I'm going to be developing a way where it's more so just an input, and it just spits out the information to you guys, so you don't have to worry about me, updating the standings or updating the bets for people and stuff. So it's still a very easy way for you guys to submit the bets. You just go on the website. There's a Lock of the Night challenge page. You just submit your bet that way, and bang, there you go. But you got to sign up first. So shoot me a DM on my Twitter at MMA LOTN, or even just comment below, and I'll figure out a way to connect you, and we'll get you set up and ready to go. So Once again, Lock of the Night Challenge 2020. It's going to be taking place from January 1st all the way to June 30th. So obviously the first event for the challenge is going to be UFC 246, headlined by Conor McGregor and Donald Cerrone. But I just want to get people signed up ASAP so I can just set everything up and make sure I have all my ducks in a row rather than getting everybody fucking, procrastinating and then signing up last minute. So if we can just get everybody, a little bit earlier, that's why I'm doing the early bird prize or the early bird draw. That's kind of my thought process behind that, just to break it up, so I don't have as much to deal with in the last day or two where everybody's scrambling to sign up. So yeah, again, DM me on Twitter at MMALOTN or just slide into the comments below and I'll be happy to set you up for that challenge. All right, let's get back to business. Obviously no casuals. Don't have my man Big Rob here, but we'll be there. I believe the next Lock-Cast is actually going to be the pay-per-view card. So next time you guys see me, I'll be back. At least you guys see me for the Lock-Cast, I'll be back in the studio. Let's talk about the last event. Let's do a quick betting recap. Finally, things are finally going my way. Well, I can't really say that. It's just been one event, but it was a very successful event. Let's start off with my Lock of the Night play. Didn't overthink this one too much. People can talk all the shit that they want about this being a chalky parlay. It fucking hit, and I'm happy, and I don't give a fuck what y'all say. Amanda Nunes and Peter Yan went out there and did exactly what I wanted them to do. Amanda Nunes, made it a little bit scarier in that second round by standing as much as she did with GDR. But once she was able to finally get this fight to the ground, it was her world. So great job for her to adjust and get the victory the way that she was supposed to. I thought she was going to get the submission, but she still grinded it out, made it a safe fight, got the decision victory there. Peter Yan, another guy. I said initially that I took him by decision, but I wouldn't be surprised if he went out there and put Uriah Faber out. And that's exactly what he did. That's what you want to expect for a minus 400, minus 500 guy. But yeah, Peter Yan's a problem in that division. And I'm very excited to see what they do with him next. Wouldn't even be opposed to a fight with him and Jose Aldo, just to be honest. And then my Dog of the Night play, another one that I'm very proud of, 1.25 units on Aleksandar Volkanovski at plus 151. Thought there was a ton of value here. A lot of people were high on the Max Holloway train, saying the guy's too tall for him, I'm going to jab his face off. Volkanovski comes from a great camp with Eugene Behrman and those city kickboxing guys down in Australia. They're a problem. They come up with great game plans. They nullified Max Holloway's jab by taking out his lead foot. It's tougher for Max Holloway to really throw much from the southpaw position, which is why he was kind of nullified there. And then looks like I got a little bit of a notification there that I got to get rid of. Anyway, great performance by Volkanovski and your new featherweight champion. Super happy about that. I love the guy. I'm going to be riding his train, pretty much in every matchup, depending on what kind of odds that we get moving forward. If he fights Max Holloway again, I will bet him again, just being honest. I don't think it's a good idea for Max Holloway to take an immediate rematch here. He should probably get his feet wet, feel victory once more, and then get back into this fight with Aleksandar Volkanovski. But UFC going to do what the UFC going to do. And then lastly, I have my Hail Mary parlay, which was busted by one bet or one leg, which was Ian Heinisch. I had 0.25 units at plus 1099. What a cash. Really nice. Had Heinisch got the victory there, but I'm not going to complain too much about it. It's a fucking Hail Mary. So at the end of it all, plus 5.04 units for the event, 78% ROI. It's a start to get my fucking shit back together. I'm happy to see the graph, trending upwards once again. So we'll see how we end up UFC Busan, which I already have a bet for. So if you guys have been following me on Twitter, you guys already know what that is, but I'm going to be covering it in this episode since it's on the main card. And then I'll be giving you guys some insight in terms of what my Lock of the Night play is going to be as well, which I'm still kind of waiting on some line movement to see if it's going to get to a range where I really want. I'd still bet it at where it's at. But again, I'll get to that once I get to to that fight on the card. All right, so quick thoughts on the card. Decent card overall. It's more of a nerds card. When you have fights like Alexandre Pantoja and Matt Schnell versus Matt Schnell, as well as Saeed Nurmagomedov versus Hani Barcelos on the main card, or sorry, on the prelims, they're fucking buried down there. It's a good card. I can't wait to watch the prelims. It's going to be 2 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'll probably stay up. At worst case scenario, I'll wake up at 4 a.m. and just catch up and hopefully be caught up to the live stream before the main event kicks off. But yeah, great fight. At least an interesting fight card all around. Haile Alatang, I'm not too mad at that. The guy's 13-7-1. I like him. He was entertaining. His fight against Batgirl last time around was fun. So I think he presents a fun challenge for Ryan Benoit, who's also been off for a while. The return of Kang. I love that fucking guy. Jun Park, even though he lost his last fight to Anthony Hernandez, I think it presents a lot of issues here for Marc Andre-Barriault. Yong versus Mike Rodriguez, that should be a fun fight. Huge stakes in the light heavyweight division when we have Volkan Oezdemir against Aleksandar Rakic here. Very much looking forward to that fight. If you guys checked out the Combative Stories episode, I kind of threw it out there to Tony that this is probably a number one contender fight for the light heavyweight division, and then I completely forgot about Corey Anderson against Jan Blachowicz, which I think is actually the number one contender. Maybe the winner of this fight should fight Anthony Smith, and I know that Volkan Oezdemir already fought Anthony Smith, but I'm sure he'd like to get that one back, and rankings-wise, it kind of makes some sense. And then obviously at the top of the card, we got Korean Zombie against Frankie Edgar. Fun fight there. Hilarious that before, when they were supposed to fight, Frankie Edgar was close to a minus 300 favorite, and a year later, now that they're rebooked and a couple fights have passed, Jung is actually the favorite at minus 170ish right now. So crazy how like a year can make such a big difference. But I'll get into my thoughts for that. So yeah, like I have been doing, I'll be doing quick picks for the prelims, with the exception of one prelim fight, which I'll go into. So let's get into that real quick. I'm going to take Hailey Tang over Ryan Benoit, Miranda Granger over Amanda Lemos, Raoni Barcelos over Saeed Nurmagomedov. Taking the upset here with a Matt Schnell over Alexandre Pantoja. I'll probably be doing an MMA Lock-Cast Plus episode on the Patreon, so make sure you guys check that out specifically for that fight. I got Omar Morales over Donghyun Ma. Sungwoo Choi over Suman Mokhtarian, and then that brings us to our prelim fight that I want to get into. It's actually the featured prelim of the night too, which is Ciryl Gane versus Tanner Boser. The funny thing is here, so Ciryl Gane spent most of his regional career fighting for TKO, which is an MMA organization based out of Montreal. And one of the fights that they always tried putting together was him against Tanner Boser, because Boser's been doing his thing on the Canadian regional scene for a while now. You know, he had a couple fights over at ACB, but he is one of those heavyweights that a lot of people were talking about in Canada. Him, Adam Diska, I think that's how you say his name, and then Ciryl Gane. So a fight that was initially probably supposed to take place in TKO is now going down in the UFC, and I think that a lot of recency bias is going on here in terms of Ciryl Gane being such a heavy favorite. Last time I checked, he was minus 800. It's going down a little bit now. He's minus 650, so it seems like people are getting a little bit more familiar with Tanner Boser. So let's start off with Ciryl Gane. You know, you can call him Francis Ngannou light, because he still doesn't have as much experience as Ngannou yet. Currently 5-0, 2-0 in the UFC with wins over Rafael Pessoa and Dontel Mays, showing off a variety of skills as well. You know, he got submissions in those last two fights, and I know a lot of people that lost some money on Ciryl Gane by TKO, but this guy's showing a lot of different facets in his game. Moves very well. His striking is next level in terms of just how fluid he is. His movement is amazing. His kicks are next level. Those kicks that he's landing on Dontel Mays, man, they made some fucking noise. I'm sure they're echoing around that arena in Singapore. I like how he moves. His cardio seems to be fine. It's not the craziest, but you gotta wonder what it's going to look like when he's not really the aggressor. He's the one, kind of being picked at. Most of these guys were just waiting for him to throw, and they're kind of already intimidated, and are, in my opinion, maybe already lost the fight going into the cage, because he is so physically imposing. But I think he is still relatively green. Let's not forget that he made his UFC or pro MMA debut in August of last year. This guy's still quite young in his career. In terms of his age, he is 29. He was supposed to be fighting in Glory Kickboxing as well before the UFC snatched him up. I think the sky is the limit for this guy. He has a lot of potential, but he's going in against a very, very tough guy in Tanner Boser, who's been around the block pretty much. This guy's fought all over the world. 17-5-1 record coming into this fight. he's not. It's weird. He's one of the quintessential heavyweights when it comes to going to decision. Most of his fights have gone to a decision, and his cardio has held up pretty much all the way through. He went to a draw against Zaur. I'm not even going to try to say this guy's name, but M1 Challenge 101. He went to a draw in a fight that I thought he probably should have won. He's faced a lot of different type of competition. He has great leg kicks. He even finished a guy by leg kicks in his second last fight. I think that if he is able to get out of the first round and implement leg kicks right off the bat, he can make this fight a lot more interesting than it should be for somebody that's a plus 550. I think there is a little bit of value there on Boser. And I think that if you don't get Ciryl Gane more than minus 400, or, if you can't get him better than minus 400, I should say, it's not worth parlaying him. The value that he adds to a parlay worse than minus 400 is not worth the return or how much value he would actually add to the parlay, in my opinion. Boser, he has potential to pull off the upset here, and you don't want your fucking crazy 4-fight, 5-fight parlay, getting dusted because of a minus 500 shitting the bed against a guy that has tons of experience. Let's not get the flashiness, and let's not get too caught up in the flashiness. Tanner Boser is not the flashy fighter. He's not a super entertaining fighter, but he goes out there and he gets the job done. He showed that in the Daniel Spitz fight. Being at a size disadvantage is not the biggest the biggest detriment. Obviously, Daniel Spitz and Ciryl Gane are completely different fighters. But I'm just saying, like, this guy has fought so many different types of opponents that I'm sure he's come across a guy like Ciryl Gane, and probably has come across guys like Ciryl Gane who have way more experience. So I'm not completely writing off Gane here, but I would not put this in a parlay. At those current odds, not worth it. If you can get it better than minus 400, all praise to you. Go for it. But I'm not going to. I'm going to pick Gane to win. Don't get me wrong. I'm picking Gane to win. However, not putting him in a parlay, not putting him on my Hail Mary parlay, nothing. If you can't get him better than minus 400, stay away from this fucking fight, or bet a little bit on Tanner Boser. That's all I'm going to say. So I'm going to take Ciryl Gane by I'll take him by second round KO. It's tough, If it does get past the first round, Tanner Boser could actually make it very interesting, but I'm gonna go with Gane by second round finish. All right, that moves us to our first fight on the main card, if I'm not mistaken. Order of this might be completely wrong, not 100% sure, but either way, it's Kyung against Pingyuan Liu. And this is actually going to be my lock of the night play, and I am more than happy to pay the juice on a guy like Kang. The guy has come through for me on numerous occasions. I paid minus 280 on him when he fought Guido Canetti. Obviously bet him against Teruto Ishihara, bet him against Brandon Davis. It's a no-brainer for me. With Kang, I know what I'm getting. I'm getting a guy who's long, knows how to use his striking in a long fashion from distance, great takedowns, great jiu-jitsu. His wrestling is underrated, but just his scramble ability, his ability to try to stay ahead of his opponent, at least for a couple steps ahead of his opponent when it comes to the ground game. Watch this fight against Michinori Tanaka. That was several years ago. I know it's been over 5 years ago, but that's one of the funnest fights that you'll ever see when it comes to grappling. If you guys have not seen that, I'd highly suggest it. It was a very, very competitive fight in terms of, both guys were getting reversals, but I'm not expecting a guy like Pingyuan Liu to be able to reverse Kang on such a as often as Tanaka was able to. And then even when Tanaka was able to, Kang was able to get it right back. But, from what we've seen from Pingyuan Liu, he pretty much grapple fucked his first two opponents in Damian Stasiak and Martin Day. And both of those fights, you can make a case that Liu actually lost. Damian Stasiak got him down in those first two rounds and did, decent damage and held him down. And then Liu was able to get back up. And then Martin Day as well, he did a lot of damage on the feet. He was able to keep the fight on the feet for a good chunk of time. And then in the Jonathan Martinez fight, Liu just wanted to keep this fight on the feet. He landed pretty decently on Jonathan Martinez, and then Martinez was able to land that beautiful knee in the third round. I expect Kang to out-grapple Liu here. I don't expect him to get hit too cleanly to the point that it's going to be, nights out or lights out. It's hard for me to explain how easy I believe this fight's going to be for Kang, and I'm kind of happy that I'm going to be at, I'd bet him all the way up to minus 280 in my opinion. That's just me. I don't know if it's a bias that I have towards Kang, but I trust this guy with my money. The only fight that I did not bet him in was the Ricardo Ramos fight, and that was strictly because of the fact that I'm very high on Ramos as well, and I knew that stylistically those two guys it was going to be a very tough fight to call, so I just stayed away from it in general. But here I think Kang has a massive advantage when it gets to the ground. I think he could find a choke. I think he could get the victory quite easily here. And I don't think it's going to be a sweat. I hope I'm not wrong, because I'm going to look like a complete fucking idiot if Kang goes out there and lays an egg, and it would be much worse if Pingyuan went out there and grapple fucked Kang, because then I would look like a complete idiot. But if Liu went out there and landed a bomb on Kang and put him out, I wouldn't be as mad, because that's MMA. It's gonna fucking happen. But I don't see that. I think Kang is gonna hold the distance well, and then when he needs to close the distance to get the fight to the ground and do his work from there, he's gonna be able to do that as well. I love Kang, and it's unfortunate that he had to miss 4 years due to service and all the other shit that he had to go through. But I'm glad that he's back on a roll here. Strung together 2 victories, and now here he is trying to end off 2019 with 3 straight victories, and start to ascend to that the rank level of that bantamweight division. It's interesting with the guy with him, because he's 5'9" with a 73-inch reach. He's gonna have a decent size advantage here over Liu. I just want to confirm the numbers. 5'8" with a 72-inch reach. I think it's going to be much more than that. I know some of these stats are sometimes just a little bit skewed, but I definitely think he's going to be the bigger guy in there. He's 32, so he's still in the prime of his career. I think he has a solid 3 or 4 years left in the game, and I hope we see him in the top 10-ish. Come in the 2021 even. I think the guy's a problem. He has a salty-ish record at 16-8, but he's really been able to put it together, in the latter half of his career. At a certain point, he was 6-5, but ever since then, he's kind of just strung it together, where he's been able to get to 10-3 in his last 13 fights. Very impressive. And the Chico Camus fight was a weird one. The Alex Caceres fight, I believe, was changed to a no contest due to Caceres testing positive from marijuana, I think it was. But either way, he started off his UFC career 0-2, and then strung together 3 wins, ran into Ricardo Ramos, and now I think he's going to go on another 3-fight winning streak by putting away Pingyuan Liu. So I'm going to take I'm going to take Kang by, let's say, second round submission. But I think this one's in the bag. This is going to be my lock of the night play. I've seen it get down to roughly around minus 235-ish. I'm going to still wait it out and see if I can get that minus 230. My main sites, Pinnacle, it's currently minus 253, Sportbet minus 249, Bookmaker minus 260. I'm going to wait a little bit. I think people might try to see a little bit of value in Pingyuan. I don't see it personally, but I think people are going to try to find a reason to bet Pingyuan here. So I'll wait it out. I'll see where Kang gets. And again, I'll bet him all the way up to minus 280 if I have to, but I'm going to wait it out and see if I can get slightly better odds. So Kang, second round submission. Let's move on to the next fight. We got Jun Park against Marc Andre-Barriault. I don't want to get too far into this fight. I am a fan of Park. I think he fights with a lot of charisma. He's very, he's a very forward-moving fighter. Not the greatest takedown defense, so that could be an issue for him here. But he's tough as nails, tough to finish. He did get finished by Anthony Hernandez last time around, but the guy is a bull. His nickname is actually the Iron Turtle, but Anaconda choked by Anthony Hernandez last time around, but before that he went on a crazy win streak. I think it was 7 straight victories. Very, very fun fight. The Glenn Sparv fight in particular was an insane fight. He hit Sparv with everything, but Sparv would just not go out. I remember one of the commentators was saying right off the bat that they didn't think this fight was going to go to a decision, and lo and behold, it went to a decision, but Sparv took some ridiculous shots. Park, very fun. Again, forward-moving fighter. I think he has the opportunity to break Marc Andre-Barriault here, who I think is, I love the guy, and he holds a victory over one of my friends because he's a Canadian guy, but I'm not completely sold on him. I think that Park has the ability to break him. I think Marc-Andre is going to have to resort to grappling here, maybe try to take him down and try to wear him out that way. But I don't know if he's going to be successful in that either. I think Park's going to be able to break his will. It's kind of a hometown fight for him here, so I think he might be a little bit more propelled by that as well. I can't believe I'm going to do it, but I'm actually going to go with Park here. I don't see much value in Marc Andre-Barriault. I think you want to go with the plus money here if you're going to bet this fight at all. And it's pretty straightforward. Park is going to come forward, try to break Marc Andre-Barriault with punches. He might have to eat a couple, but his chin is very good, so I don't think he'll have trouble with that. Marc Andre-Barriault, not the biggest one-punch knockout kind of guy. And I think that Park can definitely give him some fits, especially if he brings that relentless forward-moving style. So I'm going to go with Park here. Probably won't bet it. May put it in my Hail Mary parlay, not 100% sure. But yeah, I like Park here, so I'm going to take him by. I'll take him by decision. All right, next up we got Da Un Jung versus Mike Rodriguez. I did cash on Da Un Jung last time around when he fought Khadis Ibragimov. He was a plus 215 dog. I think I got him at like plus 240, plus 250 because I just thought those odds were ridiculous, and they paid off. Khadis came in there trying to take off Jung's head right off the bat, through like a crazy 20-punch combination, within the first minute. Thought he had Jung on the K or against the fence and could finish him. Didn't come to fruition. Jung stayed composed. It was crazy to see. Stayed composed, stayed behind the jab, was able to split Ibragimov's guard on numerous occasions. And then we find him get the easy standing guillotine choke in round 3. Khadis pretty much just gave up at that point. He had blown his wad. He thought he was going to be able to put out Jung. Was not successful in that at all, and he paid for it. And we even seen it in his fight against Ed Herman. He's a one-trick pony. He's going to be able to beat guys on the regional scene. It's going to be tough for him. If you can't get past Ed fucking Herman, it's time to go back to the lower levels and try to hone your skills and maybe come back with something stronger. Da Un Jung, I think he presents a lot of problems here for Mike Rodriguez. He shows good discipline with staying behind jabs, and it's crazy not a lot of fighters do that, but it's something so simple that allows you to open up the rest of your striking game. And it's crazy that a guy like this is able to use that to his advantage and really, implement his own type of game plan. Mike Rodriguez is an interesting guy, though. Very long. They call him Big Slow, which is weird. Or sorry, Slow Mike Rodriguez. Fights out of Massachusetts. I believe he's a part of Lozon Mixed Martial Arts. Very tough loss for him last time around against John Allen. John Allen was able to kind of have his way and get him down when he wants to, control the top position. Didn't make it too difficult to fight it for himself. I think Rodriguez has potential. Just with his size and his frame alone, if he's able to really start to gauge distance properly and really, get the distance striking under his hands and really find his place with that type of striking, I think it could be a problem. I don't know if he's going to have that type of success here against Da Un Jung. It's too close of a fight for me to personally call. I think that Rodriguez has the more power. I think he could finish Jung, but he's going to have to be methodical about it. He can't just go Ibragimov on this shit and try to throw all these punches and expect one of them to land cleanly enough to put Jung out. I think he has the discipline and coaching to pull off a methodical victory here. It's just too hard for me to call. There's a reason the fight is lined as closely as it is. Minus 120. So Rodriguez is a slight favorite now. Plus 100 for Jung. I know you guys are forcing me to make a pick out here, so I'll go with Rodriguez. I know this is a home field advantage for Da Un Jung, but I think that Rodriguez could bring more to the table here. I think if he does go for takedowns and tries to beat Jung from on top, it might be easier, but he's going to have to put his hands together first before he's able to get this fight to the ground. So I'm going to take Rodriguez. I'll take him by a second round TKO. but he's going to have to be careful to not blow his wad because Jung has shown before that he's very resilient, he's very tough, he's very durable, and he is capable of a third round finish. I doubt we see Rodriguez get as gassed and as crazily tired as a Khadis Ibrahimov. So he's just gonna have to be careful about that. But I still think that Rodriguez pulls this off. He could be a nightmare once he gets on top, and I think he will find that top position and put an end to Da Un Jung. So I'm going to take Rodriguez by I'm going to say his first round TKO. I hate picking rounds, but I know you guys enjoy that. So I'm going to take first round TKO for Mike Rodriguez via G and P. All right, this brings us to our co-main event not the co-main event, sorry, my dog of the night play. And this one kind of pains me to do because I'm a big Korean Superboy fan. We got Choi against Charles Jourdain. We'll start off with Choi, who's been off for a little bit. He had to go do some military service, and it's been close to 2 years since he last fought. Last time we did see him was against Jeremy Stephens, where Stephens was able to put him out in the second round. Vicious knockout. Not a good look for Choi, especially after he had that unfortunate loss to Cub Swanson in a probably fight of the year. I think that was 2016's fight of the year, if I'm not mistaken. Ridiculous fight. It's not a secret in terms of what Choi's tools are here. He wants to go in there. He wants to put on a striking clinic, outstrike you. Sometimes he gets dragged into those crazy wars where he's going to want to strike with you and try to catch you and put you out. And yeah, it worked against guys like Juan Manuel Puig and Sam Sicilia and Thiago Tavares. But when it comes to guys like, Cub Swanson, Jeremy Stephens, he's going to have trouble. He's going up against a guy in Charles Jourdain who's, on the brink of breaking out and becoming a household name, in my opinion. He has a lot of fucking talent. He has that one loss in TKO against another guy in TJ Laramie, he has two losses. I'm mistaken. Obviously, his UFC debut to Des Green, but even before that in TKO, he lost to TJ Laramie. This was a fight that was for years been dreamt of from people that knew about both of these guys on the amateur scene. They were kind of in their same weight class. One was fighting in Montreal, one was fighting in Ontario, and they continuously made a name for themselves. And then finally, 4 fights into Charles Jourdain's career, he goes up against TJ Laramie, who had a slightly more experience, than him at that time. They go a full 5 rounds, and Laramie comes out with a decision. But since then, he put together 4 straight wins, and that included winning the title off of Alex Morgan, who had beaten TJ Laramie in the past, and then he comes into the UFC. Flashy striker. There's a reason they call him Air Jourdain. The guy loves to throw flashy spinning shit, but he throws it with a lot of conviction. He throws it with a lot of heat, and I think that's where it's going to be interesting for Choi. Choi wants to be as disciplined as possible and try to keep his punches as straight and down the middle as possible. And I think that he could have some success against Jourdain here. But I think that the unorthodox nature of Jourdain, the power that he brings, the shape that he's in, just fucking look at his Instagram. The guy looks in incredible shape. It looks like he's taking this fight, with the most confidence. It's crazy that he even took this fight, especially it being in Korea. He stepped in against Des Green on relatively short notice, so Des Green was able to have a fight in his hometown of Rochester, and now he comes in and fights Choi, who is coming off a lengthy layoff, but the cards are stacked against him here. He's brought in here to make Choi look good in front of his home crowd, and he doesn't give a shit. He's going to come out there, he's going to fight hard. He's going to make it difficult for Choi to actually get this victory. And that's why I like the value on Jourdain here. I think at plus 252 is which is what I got him at. And now he's even getting to the plus 260-ish range. I didn't think we'd see that. I thought it would start to go back down once people start to familiarize themselves with Charles Jourdain. It is what it is. I think there's a ton of value there. I only personally put 0.75 units on it. It would, return close to just under 2 units. And that's all the risk I need to take on this fight. I'm not trying to take anything from Choi. I'm not trying to downplay the skills of Choi. I think Choi is great. I've been high on him ever since he came into the UFC, and I think he has the best, some of the best striking in that featherweight division. But I think that Jourdain just presents these unorthodox issues, these the flashy striking. His jiu-jitsu is not the worst either. He's clearly working on his takedown defense, which probably won't be too much of a concern here, but that has been his Achilles heel in the past against TJ Laramie, against Des Green. But he made that Des Green fight a lot closer than it needed to be. Let's not forget that Des Green was close to a minus 400. Yeah, he was like a minus 400, minus 500, minus 600 even underdog favorite going into that fight. So, when you get that type of a performance out of a plus 500 dog, you got to expect that the kid's getting better and better. And I expect him to be just as good here against Choi. So I think that, I'm not trying to fade Choi because he's coming off a layoff, but that is a little bit of a factor here. How healed up is his chin? He took off 2 years. That's good. It's good when you take off that much amount of time, and obviously is due to other circumstances and not just trying to heal up his chin. But at a certain point, there's a breaking point where your chin's just not going to be the same. And Choi left a lot of himself in the cage in that Cub Swanson fight, in the Jeremy Stevens fight, and a young up-and-comer in Charles Jourdain here is just looking to snatch that ASAP. He wants that stardom. He wants that shine. And he knows this is his opportunity to make a splash in the UFC, get a full training camp in, fight a guy with the name as like Choi, put on a statement, try to go out there and get a flashy knockout. Make it difficult for Choi to go out there and get a victory. And I love Charles in this spot. Last thing about Charles, man, I'm going to stop sucking this guy off, but I've been literally following this kid from the amateur scene. I used to go out when I was working at an MMA gym, and we would go to this Montreal native reserve, which is where they would have their amateur MMA fights. And him and his brother Louis would always be on the cards that I would be going to corner some guys. And man, he would put a beating on his opponents. His brother has a lot of talent too. He's just not progressing as much as Charles, but Charles is clearly, on another level at this point. And I think this is the event that really makes his name known. So I'm going with Charles here. You don't have to risk too much. That's the beauty in betting a favorite as big as Charles Jourdain. Let's lock up that profit by betting fucking Kang, and then let's try to make a little bit of extra cheddar when it comes to Charles Jourdain, but not even by putting down that much. So yeah, I like Jourdain here. I think he has a lot of opportunities to win this fight. His striking obviously being numero uno along with his power. So I expect him to put up a really tough fight as a plus 250 dog here, and I'm going to take him to win. So I'm going to take Jourdain by second round KO. About to shock the world, baby. I can't wait for the hate in the comments section. I know a lot of people are going to throw shade at me. Don't give a fuck. A lot of people threw shade at me for betting Aleksandar Volkanovski. A lot of people threw shade at me for betting fucking Mauricio Shogun Rua against Tyson Pedro. This is why I'm here. I'm trying to find these edges, and I think this is a huge edge here. So I like Charles Jourdain, and let's get this fucking money. Second round TKO. All right. Co-main event, Volkan Oezdemir versus Aleksandar Rakic. Tough fight, man. Very, very tough fight. I'll start off with Rakic because I'm high on this guy. 12-1, riding a crazy win streak right now. I think his only loss was his first professional fight. So he's on a 12-fight unbeaten streak. His last 3 fights, a decision victory over Justin Ledet, which I believe was scored 30-24 all around because he just took down Ledet and just pretty much Cain Velasquez'd him. It's been a long time since we've seen anybody been able to Cain Velasquez anybody. Devin Clark, he faced a little bit of adversity in that first round, but was able to come back and get the finish over Clark. And then with Jimmy Manuwa, the kick heard around the world. He was able to put him out with the beautiful head kick. That I still can't get the sound of that head kick out of my head. Pretty nuts. And here he is finally taking a really good fight against Volkan Oezdemir, which should propel him into the top 5 and propel him into a number 1 contender fight. Like I said at the top of the show, I think if anybody wins this fight, they should probably fight Anthony Smith or Thiago Santos, depending on whenever Thiago Santos is back. But that should set up the number 1 contender after Dominic Reyes. But yeah, with Rakic, I love the style of his, Cain Velasquez, multiple takedowns, try to wear you out, endless cardio. I love what he brings to the table. My only concern is we know Volkan Oezdemir has that crazy knockout power. And the fact that Devin Clark was able to land on Rakic and kind of put him on Queer Street, it's a little concerning. And we know with Volkan, all it takes at one point is just a shot, just one punch. If it lands, it could, turn somebody's world upside down. that's what's kind of backing me off this a little bit. When this fight was initially announced, I was kind of thinking, okay, I'm going to be all over Rakic. But once I started to get into it, Volkan hasn't looked that bad. The odds are getting more skewed towards Aleksandar Rakic now that I'm looking at it too. Minus 145. If Volkan Oezdemir hits that plus 150, plus 160ish range, I wouldn't mind making a little bit of a stab on him there. But for the division's sake, and even for my personal bias, I hope Rakic pulls the victory out here. You can make a huge argument that Volkan Oezdemir should have deserved that Dominic Reyes fight, so he could be coming 2-0 into this fight. Even the Anthony Smith fight, he was doing very well in those first 2 rounds, and then Anthony Smith kind of just takes over. I think there's a little bit of cardio issues on Oezdemir's side there too. And if you have any issues with cardio, you're going to have a long night against Aleksandar Rakic because he's able to push a ridiculous pace. So one thing that my man Rockstar Z told me in the past, you can't always bank on a guy having an iffy chin. And that's, I'm still taking that into consideration with the Choi and Jourdain fight. I'm not saying that Choi is super chinny and that, as soon as Jourdain lands on him, he's going to put him out. I think it is a little bit of a factor, but you can't kind of bank on that as the ultimate reason as to why a guy should win the fight. You got to think of the full MMA game. And when you take the full MMA game into consideration, I think Rakic has all the tools to put out Volkan Oezdemir. Not put out, but beat Volkan Oezdemir. I like Rakic in this spot in terms of skill for skill. If your only concern is the chin issues, don't bet as much on Aleksandar Rakic. Minus 145 is still not the worst. I would personally wait until like maybe minus 130, minus 135-ish. I think there will be money that comes in on Volkan Oezdemir closer to the fight just due to the name-ish value that he has compared to Rakic. He has fought for the title before. He's had other big fights in the past. He's been in the main event a couple times. So I think that there will be some public love coming in on Oezdemir here, especially if they see him at underdog odds. But overall package, Aleksandar Rakic blows him out of the water, in my opinion. I think once he gets this fight to the ground, it's going to be a little bit easier for him to bully this victory. I could see Rakic getting like a 3rd round TKO on the ground. I wouldn't even mind a little shot at that prop just as like a personal play. Let's see what that currently sits at. Most of the odds just dropped right now. Rakic in 3rd round is plus 1100. I would entertain that if you like to take little punts like that. So I like Rakic here. I like him to wear on Volkan Oezdemir. Either stay all the way out, land your kicks, or get all the way in. So Volkan Oezdemir is not able to land ridiculous shots. And obviously we've seen in the past where he's been able to land ridiculous shots against guys like Misha Serkinov, where they are super close and they still get put out. But I'd like Rakic's chances if he gets into the clinch position, get the double underhooks, look for trips, look for takedowns, but get Volkan down to the ground ASAP to neutralize his biggest threat, which is his power, and then just work from there. Work to tire out Volkan Oezdemir. Work to work your elbows in there, get the mount, do what you got to do. I think Rakic is going to have so much success once this fight hits the ground, and I think it's just a matter of time before that happens. So I like Aleksandar Rakic here to win. I'm going to take him by 3rd round TKO, but I wouldn't go the hardest on betting Rakic. And I would also wait for a slightly better line. Yeah, Pinnacle has him at minus 136, which isn't the worst either. So I like Rakic here. I like him closer to minus 130. If you guys can eventually get that line, I would hop all over that. So Rakic, 3rd round TKO. All right, main event time. This one's one that I've been a little bit split on. And this is another one where the whole cardio thing comes into issue. Not cardio, sorry, chin thing comes into issue. So Frankie Edgar has really only been knocked out by Brian Ortega. And a lot of people are saying, if you've been knocked out by Brian Ortega, you're probably the most chinniest person out there. He managed to get through the whole 3 rounds with Cub Swanson with not getting knocked out. He managed to get a whole 5 rounds with Max Holloway and not get knocked out. It's been 2 fights after the Ortega fight, small sample size, and I think that Yong is probably the hardest hitter out of Max Holloway, Cub Swanson, and himself. And something that I said right off the top of the show, a year ago, Frankie Edgar was a sizable favorite going into this fight. And, Frankie Edgar has only had 1 fight, which was the Max Holloway fight. And then Yong, I believe he strung together a couple victories. He had the Yair Rodriguez fight, which didn't go his way, even though I thought he probably would have won the decision had that gone to a decision. And then he goes out there and overhand right to ground and pounds Renato Moicano to get the victory within 1 minute. So I'm not sure exactly what happened in between that time where a lot of people were going to be like, okay, Chan Sung Jung, massive favorite now. Or not massive, but solid favorite now, minus 175. Well, what's the line at? Minus 170. I know Frankie Edgar's takedowns haven't been the greatest. His wrestling hasn't been the greatest as of late, and that's kind of what he's leaned on in the past to get victories. But I think him having the threat of the takedown there, even if it's feinting it, even if it's going for it and not getting it, I think that plays into his favor because he's a guy that's the energizer bunny when it gets to the fight. He likes to bounce around a lot. He uses his footwork a lot, the in and out movement. In terms of size, how much size is he giving up here? 5'7", 72-inch reach for Chan Sung Jung, 5'6", 72-inch reach for Frankie Edgar. And again, some of these stats are slightly off and skewed sometimes. Man, initially I was looking to bet Frankie Edgar as a dog. I still have a little bit of a desire to do that. I don't know where this narrative is coming from that people are all over Korean zombies, since the Moicano fight. And again, obviously he looked good in the Yair Rodriguez fight too, but this fucking Frankie Edgar still. And yeah, he's getting up there in age. He's 38 now. But he still has he has the cardio, he has the footwork. Obviously you're going to get outstruck by Max Holloway. No big deal there. But yeah, Chan Sung Jung, if he's not able to land that knockout shot, if he's not able to get that finish, I like Frankie Edgar by decision. What's Frankie Edgar by decision? Edgar wins by decisions plus 275. So I wouldn't mind taking a small poke at Frankie Edgar to win by decision. I think those odds are definitely worth it. Even if you want to take him, straight plus 150, I think there's a lot of value there too. I'm kind of mystified by the Korean zombie love here. I'm not completely getting it. I think ultimately I'll stay away from this fight officially. Might sprinkle a little bit on Frankie Edgar by decision, but Chan Sung Jung's striking has looked good. I'll give him that. It's looked decent. There's a reason he was able to put out Renato Moicano. But even that fight, he was going into that fight as a dog. A lot of people are high on Moicano even after coming off that Jose Aldo loss. I love Frankie Edgar in this spot. And say what you want about him getting older, say what you want about him getting knocked out by Brian Ortega. I still think that Chan Sung Jung is gonna, another thing about the Ortega fight. You're going into that fight thinking that you're fighting a purely jiu-jitsu guy. You know what I mean? You're not thinking that this guy's gonna pull out a fucking uppercut from the heavens and send you skyrocketing to the moon. It happens. I highly doubt Frankie Edgar was expecting that type of outcome in that fight, and not a lot of people were either. Frankie Edgar was my fucking lock of the night that night. With Chan Sung Jung, I think he's going to be a little bit more prepared for somebody who's going to be throwing heat. And I think that Mark Henry is a smart enough coach to take that into consideration and to take that and mold a game plan around that to allow Frankie Edgar to hit and get out before getting hit. And obviously he's going to have to take some shots here, but I'm going to bank on Frankie Edgar's chin a little bit longer here. Like the Rakic fight. As an overall package, skill for skill, I'm leaning Frankie Edgar. Probably get some hate for that too, but I'm going to go with Edgar here. I'm going to say he takes the decision, outstrikes Chan Sung Jung, gets in and out, hit and doesn't get hit, or hit and doesn't get hit as often, and pulls off the victory. So I like Frankie Edgar to win by decision. Not sure if I'll play that the plus 150. We'll see where that line goes closer to the event. And obviously I put out my, final thoughts on Friday. So make sure you guys check that out on the Patreon page if you guys haven't already checked it out. Patreon, only $5 a month now. I initially had it at $12 a month. I've dropped it down, less content than I was initially promising. So hence why I dropped the limit there. But I'm still putting out the Lock-Cast Plus episodes and the Final Thoughts episodes to give you guys a little bit better insight in terms of how the lines have moved throughout the week. But yeah, getting back to this fight, Frank Edgar by decision, think there's a ton of value at him above plus 170-ish. Wouldn't want to bet Korean Zombie unless he's like minus 140 or something, minus 130. But even then, I still like Frankie Edgar, skill for skill. Simple as that. So I can't wait for the comments on this one because I picked a couple of dogs here that a lot of people are going to be like, what the fuck is wrong with you? The fuck you talking about? This is what I'm talking about. I'm seeing these edges, and I think that they're things that people can take advantage of. So that's pretty much it. This is the last Lock-Cast episode for the year, which is crazy. I believe I'm going to be doing something with my man Newsome to wrap up our year. I finally get to exercise my demons in terms of talking out the shittiness of the year, the second half of this year that I had. Hopefully, I can go into this interview with, of W with the UFC Busan, so things are kind of on the upswing a little bit more. Build off the momentum of UFC 245, which I had. That's pretty much about it. I don't know why the fuck I'm searching to tell you guys some more shit. Hit me up if you guys want to join the Lock of the Night Challenge. $25 game and $100 game. You can enter both or just one of them if you like. DM me at MMA LOTN on Twitter. Hit me up in the comments below. Make sure you guys hit the subscribe. Your boy's subscriber count is slowly rising. I'm still trying to get to 1,000. I don't know what I'm going to set the goal for, but I want to get to 1,000. I'm at 710 or something right now. So make sure you guys help your boy out there. And hit the like. Throw me some shade in the comments if you guys want. Everybody that was shitting on me for picking Aleksandar Volkanovski, show yourselves. That'll be great. It's funny how nobody ever shows themselves after I've proven them wrong. That's always the best part of these podcasts. Anyway, that's about it. Let's fucking end it. Appreciate you guys watching. And I will see you guys probably this weekend for the Combatisseurs and also deciding splits. All right. Take care. Peace. Happy New Year. Merry Christmas. Happy holidays. Whatever the fuck you guys celebrate. Happy Kwanzaa. And I'll see you guys in the new year for the MMA Lock-Cast.